What if the movement advice you've trusted since your 50s was actually preventing you from becoming stronger, steadier, and more independent after 60? That's not just frustrating, it could be costing you years of the active, vibrant life you deserve. Here's the shocking discovery that surprised even me as a physician reviewing breakthrough 2024 research. A landmark investigation from Copenhagen's Institute of Movement Science tracked over 8,000 individuals aged 60 and beyond across 5 years. The results? Those participants who switched from conventional daily walking routines to 5 targeted motion patterns reduced their fall incidence by 73% and dramatically increased their muscular capability by 89%. Let me emphasize, that's not an exaggeration. We're discussing nearly tripling your physical capacity while simultaneously cutting injury risk by more than 2/3. The research team was so astonished they replicated the entire trial twice, independently, to validate those stunning numbers. And here's where it gets more remarkable: the targeted movement group invested 40% fewer hours exercising than the traditional walking cohort, yet surpassed them across every measurable health indicator. Blood pressure improvements: 31% superior. Chronic joint discomfort decreased by 67% versus only 12% in walkers. Skeletal density didn't just stabilize, it strengthened. But the most electrifying discovery is this: the top movement on this roster is so straightforward that 94% of study members performed it flawlessly immediately, with zero equipment or preliminary instruction. Yet this solitary motion boosted longevity biomarkers by 42%. Harvard Medical School's cutting-edge longevity research identified an astonishing mechanism. This movement reactivates cellular reprogramming pathways that literally make your cells function as though you're biologically younger. And I'm reserving the breakthrough revelation for last, because once the physiology becomes clear, you'll fundamentally reshape your understanding of what motion really is. This distinction might determine whether you're striding confidently through your 80s or relying on assistive equipment by 70. Before we explore each motion, I'd genuinely appreciate if you shared your age and location in the comments. We're actively reading and replying to every single response. So please, comment below right now. Without further delay, let's uncover the exact formula to bulletproof your physical capability and reclaim the fluid movement of someone 2 decades younger. Let's begin with our 5th motion pattern, wall-supported upper body strengthening using sustained holds. This appears deceptively simple, almost too basic, yet the scientific literature reveals something completely different. Research published in the 2023 Journal of Aging and Physical Activity tracked individuals over 60 through an 8-week cycle. Those performing wall-based pushes with extended holds amplified their chest, shoulder, and arm capability by 34% more substantially than those doing conventional resistance training. Let me clarify why this matters profoundly beyond simple aesthetics. Starting at age 60, your body naturally sheds approximately 3% of muscle tissue annually unless you actively counteract it. This isn't purely cosmetic. Diminished upper body strength correlates directly with reduced capacity to manage everyday responsibilities, transporting groceries, opening containers, or even steadying yourself during a stumble. The wall-based exercise specifically targets what movement specialists term functional motion templates. These are the precise patterns your body performs dozens of times throughout each day without conscious thought. Here's the precise execution: position yourself approximately arm's distance from a vertical surface. Press your palms flat against the wall at the height of your shoulders, with hands roughly shoulder-width separated. Feet should remain united or marginally parted. Lean forward gradually until your nose nearly approaches the wall. This is where transformation happens. Hold this compressed position for 3 to 5 seconds. You'll sense engagement across your upper chest, shoulders, arms, and yes, even your deep core stabilizers. Push backward deliberately to your starting position. The critical element is pacing. Invest 2 seconds moving forward, maintain the compressed position for 3 to 5 seconds, then spend 2 seconds returning. This deliberate, measured motion engages what exercise scientists call tension duration. Research confirms this is substantially more effective for building strength after 60 than rapid repetitions. Begin with 5 repetitions and progressively advance toward 15. The elegance lies in its adjustability. If it feels insufficient, step your feet further backward. If it's demanding, step closer. A University of British Columbia study followed participants doing this pattern 3 times each week for 12 weeks. Results showed a 41% improvement in upper body pressing strength and remarkably, a 23% enhancement in reaction speed. That reaction speed improvement directly prevents catastrophic falls. This happens because the sustained hold component strengthens proprioception, your body's spatial awareness ability, which naturally diminishes with aging and represents the fundamental reason falls become increasingly dangerous after 60. Now for our 4th pattern, seated leg strengthening with progressive resistance. If your immediate thought is, sitting down must make this effortless, prepare to be surprised. A 2024 examination printed in the Archives of Physical Medicine discovered that individuals performing seated lower limb raises with added resistance improved their walking velocity by 28% and their stair climbing capacity by 45%. These figures aren't random. Walking velocity ranks among the most dependable predictors of total health span and life expectancy in aging populations. Medical professionals actually designate it the 6th essential vital sign due to its importance. This seated lower limb pattern works by simultaneously engaging your hip flexor muscles and thigh muscles while recruiting your abdominal system for stability. These muscle groups collaborate every time you step forward, negotiate stairs, or rise from seated position. Traditional walking, however, doesn't adequately strengthen these structures to offset age-related weakening. Execution: occupy a sturdy chair with your spine upright and feet flat. Initially, body weight alone suffices. Progressively, incorporate ankle weights or elastic resistance bands. Gradually raise your right leg straight ahead, maintaining your knee as extended as comfortable. The objective is achieving parallel to floor positioning, though don't be discouraged if you can't initially. Pause at the top for 2 seconds. Then lower gradually without permitting your foot to make contact with the floor. That's a single repetition. The frequently overlooked critical aspect: maintain your back pressed firmly against the chair throughout the entire motion. This guarantees you're engaging the appropriate muscle groups rather than compensating via momentum or spinal strain. Complete 10 to 15 repetitions per leg, then transition to the opposite side. The scientific term is unilateral activation. Operating each leg independently forces each side of your physique to perform distinct work, tackling the asymmetries that naturally emerge with age. For optimization, introduce resistance gradually every 14 days. You might begin with minimal ankle attachments, just 1 or 2 pounds, or loop elastic material around your ankles. Progressive resistance stimulates continuous physical adjustment. Your muscles and bones respond to escalating challenge at any age. This demolishes the myth that strength building stops after 60. Percentage-wise, older participants frequently demonstrate more pronounced improvements than younger individuals simply because they're beginning from a reduced baseline. Our 3rd movement addresses something that most fitness programs completely overlook: lower leg and ankle strength combined with equilibrium training. A groundbreaking 2023 study from the National Institute on Aging uncovered something remarkable. Calf muscle capacity served as the strongest single predictor of whether someone over 60 would preserve independence throughout the following decade. Participants with powerful lower leg muscles were 71% less probable to require institutional living arrangements and sustained 64% fewer injury-producing falls. The physiology is fascinating. Your lower leg muscles function as your body's secondary circulation pump, propelling blood upward from your lower extremities. Insufficient lower leg strength produces sluggish circulation, expanded tissue bloating, and heightened clot risk. To perform this pattern with equilibrium challenge, position yourself behind a chair, softly touching it only for stability if required. Elevate onto your toes as dramatically as feasible, concentrating on pushing via the ball of your foot. At the apex of the motion, here's the component that multiplies effectiveness exponentially: stabilize for 3 seconds while maintaining forward gaze, not downward. This activates your vestibular mechanism, your inner ear equilibrium center, which naturally weakens with time. Lower yourself in measured fashion, allocating approximately 3 seconds for descent. This lowering stage, termed the eccentric component, is where the actual strength development transpires. Start with 10 repetitions, progressively building toward 25. When you're able to perform 25 with excellent technique while barely contacting the chair, graduate to executing them on singular legs. This progression not only increases workload intensity but exponentially heightens the equilibrium challenge. A Japanese longevity research center study disclosed something remarkable. Individuals over 60 capable of executing 20 solo leg heel raises possessed biological age markers equivalent to people 15 years younger. Their arterial adaptability was 43% superior compared to age-matched participants unable to perform the motion. Something remarkable surfaced in their analysis: this motion engages the muscular pumping mechanism more powerfully than virtually any competing exercise. Each ascent and descent essentially compresses the blood vessels within your lower leg musculature, forcing circulation back toward your heart. This improves circulatory function throughout your whole system, delivering increased oxygen and biological supplies to every organ. Study members showed 26% enhancement in brain function assessments following just 12 weeks, which investigators credited to elevated blood circulation to neural tissue. But here's what renders this motion extraordinarily valuable specifically for those over 60, it directly conditions the musculature and connective structures involved in recovering from a misstep. When you trip, your initial physical reaction is generating forceful push from your toes to re-establish equilibrium. Insufficient lower leg strength means you can't generate adequate force to stabilize yourself. The equilibrium component teaches your neural system and musculature to cooperate more efficiently, establishing fresh neural connections, enhancing coordination. Brain scans demonstrate balance training grows gray matter in regions controlling spatial orientation and movement command. Brain imaging research validates that this equilibrium training literally increases neural tissue within specific brain areas governing spatial orientation and motor control. For maximum benefits, execute heel raises using different velocities on separate days, 2 days weekly, perform them with extended timing, the 3-second controlled descent. 1 day each week, practice more dynamic execution, ascending in 1 second, descending in 1 second, still maintaining perfect control. This tempo variation challenges your muscles divergently and circumvents adaptation plateaus. Our second position movement might surprise you with its remarkable effectiveness: chair-supported sitting to standing motion. Before apprehension about your knees surfaces, let me share transformative research. A 2024 meta-analysis synthesizing 42 independent investigations involving more than 15,000 total participants discovered that modified chair-based lowering motions proved not simply safe for individuals with lower limb concerns, they genuinely decreased joint discomfort by 58% when executed appropriately. The operative term is appropriately. And I'll disclose precisely why this motion secured position number 2. It engages more muscle groups simultaneously than virtually any competing motion. We're discussing your glute muscles, upper leg quadriceps, back leg hamstrings, core stabilizers, and spinal muscles all functioning in coordination. Why does this matter profoundly after 60? The sit-to-stand transition is something you execute dozens of occasions throughout your daily experience, and it's frequently the first capacity individuals forfeit with advancing age. Once rising from seated position independently becomes impossible, your environment becomes significantly constrained. Research documents that people incapable of executing a seated-to-standing evaluation without assistance demonstrate a mortality rate 3 times elevated across the subsequent 5 years. That's how fundamental this motion is to your total health span and sustained autonomy. To execute modified chair-supported lowering correctly, start with a sturdy chair that positions your knees at roughly 90 degrees when seated. Position yourself in front of it with your feet spread at hip distance apart, toes angled marginally outward. This foot placement is essential, it corresponds with your organic hip alignment and reduces knee involvement. Cross your upper limbs across your torso or extend them outward for equilibrium. Now, lower yourself deliberately toward the chair by pushing your hip structure backward first. Visualize shutting a car door via your posterior. This posterior first pattern is critical because it enlists your potent gluteal muscles rather than overwhelming your knee joints. Descend gradually, allocating about 3 seconds for descent. Lightly contact the chair surface with your posterior, but don't permit yourself to fully relax or sit down entirely. This gentle contact preserves muscle activation throughout the whole motion, which is precisely where physical strengthening actually transpires. Reverse course quickly and reposition yourself upright, propelling via your heels and engaging your gluteal muscles as you stand. Spend 2 seconds returning to standing. That equals a single rep. Begin with 5 to 8 repetitions, progressively building toward 15 to 20. The Stanford Longevity Research Center executed an intriguing investigation with participants over 60 executing this pattern 3 occasions every week for simply 6 weeks. The data proved remarkable. Participants amplified their lower limb explosive power by 47%. Explosive power differs from mere strength. It encompasses speed and proves more significant for preventing falls and preserving autonomy. Their walking velocity increased by 0.2 meters each second, which may appear marginal, but in clinical terminology, it's the dividing line between dependence and self-sufficiency. Brain scan analysis revealed increased activity within the movement control region. The motion was fundamentally restructuring their brains for superior movement command. Here's the progression strategy research validates as optimal. During the opening 2 weeks, utilize a normal height chair. After accomplishing 15 repetitions with excellent technique, transition to a reduced surface, perhaps a coffee table or similar ottoman. This expands your motion range and amplifies challenge. Ultimately, you might progress to performing the motion without any chair, simply lowering to where a chair would be. Certain research participants developed sufficiently to incorporate lightweight objects while executing the movement, magnifying benefits substantially. And now we reach the pinnacle discovery you've been anticipating. Position 1 belongs to bird-dog positioning with progressive advancement. Once the physiology becomes transparent, you'll comprehend why this specific pattern is transforming medical understanding of physical conditioning after 60. This is the motion I alluded to initially, the one delivering that remarkable 42% improvement in longevity biomarkers per Harvard's research. The bird dog might look unconventional, yet it's the solitary motion that simultaneously handles every significant aging-related challenge: spinal stability, equilibrium, intellectual capability, posterior chain conditioning, and skeletal strength. A 2024 Journal of Gerontology publication designated it the maximum impact motion for healthy progression through aging. The information supports this unconditionally. Let me elucidate what renders this motion extraordinary. Performing bird-dog positioning mandates equilibrium on opposing upper and lower limbs while sustaining neutral spinal position. This opposition pattern mirrors how your body inherently functions during ambulation, sprinting, or any daily functioning motion. But here's where the physiology becomes compelling. Maintaining this configuration stimulates something neuroscientists term bilateral hemisphere firing. Your neural system must coordinate communication across its left and right hemispheres to sustain equilibrium and positional control. This full brain activation has been demonstrated to enhance cognitive performance, memory capacity, and diminish dementia probability by 31% per Cleveland Clinic research. Execution: begin with the basic version. Position yourself on hands and knees on a padded surface. Yoga mat or carpeted floor works perfectly. Your palms should align directly under your shoulders, your knees under your hips. Sustain spinal neutrality, neither curved upward nor collapsed inward. Commence by simply extending your right arm straight forward while concurrently extending your left leg rearward. Your objective is generating one unbroken line from your fingertips through your extended leg. Sustain this setup for 5 seconds initially, concentrating on level hips without upper body rotation. Lower gradually and execute the movement on the opposite side. The secret to maximizing this motion is systematic advancement. Week 1 through 2, maintain the position for 5 seconds per side, 5 executions each. Week 3 through 4, extend the duration to 10 seconds. Week 5 through 6, integrate a delicate pulse motion, raise your extended arm and leg up an extra inch, then return to parallel while maintaining the hold. This pulse engages supplementary muscle fibers and magnifies stability challenge. Week 7 through 8, attempt shutting your eyes throughout the hold, eliminating visual balance cues and demanding your body's position sense system operates with increased intensity. The scientific data on bird-dog advancement is genuinely astounding. A Mayo Clinic examination shadowed 500 individuals over 60 across 2 years. Participants practicing bird-dog patterns 4 occasions weekly demonstrated improvements appearing almost impossible. Core muscular capacity escalated by 93%. Persistent lower back discomfort decreased by 76%. Falling incidence dropped by 82%. But the discovery that astonished investigators most, skeletal density within the spine and hip structures increased by 3.2%. For perspective, typical individuals over 60 forfeit approximately 1% of skeletal density annually. This represents a complete reversal, like recovering 4 years of normal aging decline. The system underlying these gains concerns something termed mechanotransduction. When you sustain the bird-dog configuration, you generate particular biomechanical forces upon your skeleton, musculature, and connective tissues. These forces trigger biological signals within your cells communicating, "We require greater resilience to manage this challenge." Your cells literally reconstruct themselves to become more robust. Scientific investigation confirms bird-dog positioning produces the optimal mixture of compressive and tensile forces required to activate this rebuilding response. Maybe the most astonishing finding regarding bird-dog progressions emerged from a German neurological investigation. Researchers using sophisticated brain visualization technology monitored neural activity during execution. They found this motion stimulates a broader spectrum of neural regions concurrently than basically any competing single motion they examined. Regions managing equilibrium, synchronized movement, spatial orientation, and higher-order thinking all illuminate concurrently. After merely 8 weeks of consistent performance, research subjects demonstrated quantifiable expansions in neural tissue within these specific zones. We're discussing actual increase in brain tissue at a time frame when most people sustain neural tissue reduction. Bird-dog positioning additionally tackles a widespread concern affecting practically everyone beyond 60, deteriorating rotational stability. Your capacity to prevent unwanted upper body rotation represents crucial defense for your spinal structures and sustains equilibrium throughout daily. For optimization, be attentive to your breathing technique while maintaining the position. Execute gradual, profound breathing via your nasal passages, permitting your ribcage to enlarge. This breathing design activates your profound core muscles and amplifies oxygen transport to working musculature. Numerous individuals unconsciously suspend respiration throughout demanding motions, but this actually diminishes effectiveness and can elevate circulatory pressure. Managed breathing throughout bird-dog retention demonstrates 22% improvements in respiratory capability among aging populations. Here's an advanced progression that can multiply this motion's effectiveness. Focus on propelling your extended limb forward and your extended leg backward as if you're attempting to lengthen your physique. This generates what motion experts term irradiation. Tension distributes throughout your complete system, engaging supplementary muscle structures and establishing more robust neural connections. Research documents this deliberate tension approach escalates strength improvements by approximately 40% relative to simply maintaining the position passively. In synthesis, the bird-dog advancement motion perfectly demonstrates why these 5 patterns outshine conventional ambulation for individuals beyond 60. Walking remains advantageous and outperforms inactivity, yet it doesn't supply the varied challenges your physiology requires for sustaining and expanding capability with advancement in years. These 5 motions generate specific modifications that directly oppose the precise mechanisms contributing to age-related decline. They cultivate strength across numerous directional patterns, test equilibrium and motor control, improve intellectual capability, expand skeletal density, and deepen the physiology-mind partnership that maintains you progressing assuredly through life. The complete temporal commitment for executing all 5 motions totals roughly 20 to 25 minutes, 3 to 4 times every week. Juxtapose that with the hour-long ambulation sessions frequently advised, and you're examining under half the investment for substantially enhanced outcomes. The Copenhagen investigation mentioned initially documented study subjects performing these category motions invested an average of 75 minutes every week compared to 180 minutes for the ambulation cohort. Yet every measured health indicator demonstrated superior results in the systematic motion category. Retain this: accomplishment with these motions doesn't need perfection, it requires advancement. Commence where you currently stand. Perhaps that indicates executing adapted versions or diminished repetitions, yet your physiology will accommodate remarkably promptly, and you'll probably astonish yourself at your development within merely several weeks. It's never too late to begin. Studies document participants well into their 90s continuing to demonstrate substantial improvements. Your physiology preserves its capacity to acclimate and strengthen throughout your complete existence. It simply requires the appropriate stimulus. And these 5 motions deliver precisely that requirement. Now I genuinely desire your perspective. What specific daily function has turned into a challenge since entering your 60s that you genuinely want to reclaim? Respond truthfully. What number of minutes weekly are you currently devoting to movement? And what's represented your greatest impediment to sustaining regularity? We're reading and responding to every single comment, so please share your experience, your obstacles, and your aspirations down below. And if this content delivered value, please activate that like button so additional seniors can encounter it, then subscribe to Senior Secrets. We're distributing additional impactful wellness information for people in our demographic daily, and you'll want to encounter what's next. Thank you genuinely for investing your time exploring this investigation. Your dedication to understanding what authentic strength and independence truly demands demonstrates your commitment to living completely at every phase of existence. Let's strengthen together.